Well, everyone, it's my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, Robert Kiyosaki. Now, as you all know, Robert is famous for his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book has not been a big seller, but it's been a massive seller throughout the world. I Googled it last night and it sold 40, 50 million copies. I also then Googled Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is like the Bible. And it was 1937. That means that Robert gave it a 60-year start and he's done 30 million copies. So you ran down the great Dale Carnegie and you have left a legacy. You must be very proud of the legacy that you've left for the world with this book. You're a champion educator, and that's wonderful. And so what a proud thing to leave. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome Robert Kiyosaki. Are you there, Robert?
I'm here. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi. You know,
I miss Aussie. I really do. You live in the greatest country, except for your government.
Yeah, well, maybe so. You know, I'm very good friends with Michael Rakusin, and Michael obviously speaks so wonderful about you and about how you door knocked him way back there in the mid-90s, and you together got off a start. And so obviously Australia must have a special place in your heart with how the book has gone. And obviously, Robert, Michael didn't make the book for you, but he gave you that little bit of edge, and you must be very, very happy with that.
I'm very happy. It's actually humbling. It's not proud. I'm just so glad it meets so many different people of different economic stratas. You know, that's the best. That's the best part for me.
Well, let me tell you a funny story, and I know we're pressed for time, but I'm going to tell this story because you're going to enjoy this story. I just recently bought myself a nice new M4 BMW, and I have an Audi sports car, and I was going to trade it in. Somebody said, "Don't trade it in. Hey, go and sell it privately because secondhand sports cars are selling way over the odds." And so I put an ad in the carsales.com, and a young Chinese girl rings and says, "Can I come and see the car?" I said, "Sure." So she came on over, and she's a beautiful Chinese girl, and I couldn't.
They're dangerous. Be careful. They're dangerous.
Did you say me or her? But look, what you're going to love about this story, Robert, is that she's there talking to me, and she said, I don't have a license, so I can't take it for a test run and everything. And I said, "This is unusual." I said, "Your first car is an expensive sports car. You're a young girl, 24 years of age. And, as an old financial planner, I'm saying economically, where's the money coming from?" And she said, "Oh, look, I'm not actually financing it. I'm paying it for cash." She said, "My father is paying for it. He's a Chinese businessman. But he told me he would only buy me this car under one proviso." And I said, "Well, what was that?" She said, he bought her a book. He said, "My daughter, you read this book and I'll buy you a car." And I said, "What was the book?" And she said, "Rich Dad, Poor Dad" by Robert Kiyosaki. And I said, "Did you read it?" She said, "I read the whole book. I'm in." Wow. And I thought, what a legacy. What a legacy. Some beautiful 24-year-old Chinese girl living in Sydney. She gets given this book. She thinks you're a god. When I told her I knew you, she went, "Oh my God." And she said, "I can't wait to tell my father." So I thought, what a wonderful story. So I wanted to tell you that because it's a real story. It really happened. It only happened 2 weeks ago. So what do you think about that?
Well, that's what humbles me. Do you know what I mean? Ego is one thing. I have a big ego. But when the kids come up to me, so my father gave it to me, my mother gave it to me. I think Greg, the best thing of all is I was in a restaurant yesterday in Phoenix here, Arizona. And the wait staff, the guys in the kitchen cooking, they all came up to say hello. So if I can reach guys like you and the muckety mucks at top, but I'm reaching the guys working behind their kitchen. That's humbling. That's that's my joy. You know what I mean?
I know that what you do love, and as I've looked at so many podcasts on you and read so much material about you, you really do like to educate. You like to help teach people. You like to help people help themselves.
Right.
That is so powerful. That's more than selling them something. That's more than telling them something, but you're teaching them a tool that they can live on. And I can see that's been your message your entire life. Well done.
Yeah. Not only that, one more thing. This is what's funny. I'm going to call a racist for saying this. You know, I'm fourth generation Japanese American, which means I don't speak Japanese, you know. And so, as we know, the Japanese don't know anything about money. You know, Japan is in serious trouble. The yen is crashing and all this right now because the Japanese are savers. They're not investors. But my rich dad was Chinese. And we all know who are the brains in Sydney and Australia and all throughout the world? The Chinese. They're kicking our ass right now.
Yeah, it is. Oh, that's not racist or anything. That's true. And Harry Dent says that one of the beautiful parts that Australia has embraced is that we embrace the Asian community to come in, and so many powerful and intelligent people came to Australia and made Australia a better place since they all came back in the 80s. So it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. It's made us a much richer and more handsome country, I believe.
You guys do live in a lucky country, you know what I mean? And I first came to Australia in 1976 to play rugby union. And as you know, Americans don't play rugby. But we had a great time. We played Bondi, Randwick, and a couple of other clubs. Naturally, we lost every stupid game. But we drank a lot of beer, ate a lot of meat pies. I fell in love with Aussie.
Well, it's interesting you should mention the word Randwick, because that's where some of the greatest Australian rugby players have come from.
Kent Peasy was my hero, you know, and Far Jones. I mean, those guys are legends in my mind.
Well, Nick Farr Jones's son and my son are friends.
Oh, really? Well, tell his son that I have tremendous respect for his father.
Oh, wonderful.
I saw him playing a number of tests, you know, because I'm an old guy that traveled watching, you know, I was I think I was in for the World Cup and go to New Zealand. I played in New Zealand. I played in London. It's my sport. Rugby union. I never played league. The league's a little too tough for me.
You know too much, Robert. You're talking all the lingo. Very, very good. Look, let's get on with this. Get on with the show. And it's lovely talking to you. But hey, look, I was reading the Sydney Morning Herald just a few days ago, and you're gonna love this, because I know that you wrote your book Fake, and you wrote your book that also who stole our pension. And have this in the Sydney Morning Herald a few days ago. It says that, and I'll just quickly put on my glasses to not make a mistake here. There are fears that the British pension system, which is valued at £1.5 trillion,
right,
is on the brink of collapse. Do you hear that? On the brink of collapse. What?
I agree. That's why my book is called Who Stole My Pension? Came out in 2000 it came out, because when the pound went down, the English pension system nearly went down. So that's why the government had to bail out the Bank of England. You know what I thought was interesting too is that Truss, the new Prime Minister, you know, of England. I think her name is Truss.
Yeah, Truss. Yes, correct.
Yeah, she kisses the Queen. The Queen died. It was a sign from God, Greg. Sign from God. And I understand you're gonna take the Queen's picture off your Aussie dollar.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
and you're gonna put who's the guy?
Charles.
Who's the guy? Crikey. What's his name?
Steve Irwin.
Yeah, Steve Irwin.
Oh, okay. He's going.
He should replace the Queen. I'm only kidding.
Look, we're going to get to your new book, which is so exciting. Capitalist Manifesto, amazing, amazing. I mean, already I tried to buy a copy, can't get a copy here. I mean, heck, release it out there. I could not. I spent 3 weeks trying to get a copy here in Australia. Couldn't get it mailed, couldn't get it to me. So look forward to talking about that. And yes, your staff was kind enough to send me an e-copy, and I've poured over it. Fantastic. But this is called the Renegade Summit. That's why I've got all these great people together today. Yeah. And, I'm going to ask you a question straight from the top, because I know you're not scared to talk your mind. I know you're not scared to make a prediction, be it right, be it wrong. You'll have a go, which is, I respect people who do that. I really do. And when I have people stop me in a cafe and say, oh, you interviewed that guy and he made a mistake, I said, listen, he had a bloody go. I mean, he's got the gumption to have a go. And so now, look, how do you see the world right now? How's the world economy? You and I both know it looks like a disaster, but I want Robert Kiyosaki's view on the world right now.
Well, to give you the Aussie scientific economic term, it's stuffed.
Oh no, we go deeper than that.
I know. I'm being polite right now.
Okay,
but let me talk about this. This is the book Capitalist Manifesto. Okay, and I'm happy to say it's they can't get enough of them. Plus, there's a supply shortage. But it started with this book here, the Communist Manifesto. So when I was 18 years old in 1965, I left Hawaii and I went to school in New York. And I went to military school, military academy. There's 5 federal academies in America, like Sandhurst and all that. So I go to this military school, and instead of studying economics, like Malthus and those guys, and economics teacher had to read this book here. And that changed my life. It's only like 50 pages. It's written in 1848. But the hard part, Greg, was I realized my family are Marxist. That's the hard part. They've never read this book. They don't know they're Marxist. To me, economics is like a religion. You could be Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, Christian. So a Marxist is like a religion, the same as fascist, capitalist, socialist. They're kind of like economic religions. So when I read this book here, I said, oh my God, my family, all academics, PhDs, all that stuff. They're all Marxist. My father was the head of the teachers union. And what Marx says, workers of the world unite. And you look at the trade unions all across Australia, they have so much power. In America, the biggest labor union is the NEA, the education the teachers. And my father was head of the teachers union. So I grew up with all of these teachers union people, good people, don't get me wrong, but they're Marxist. They don't like capitalists. And so that's one of the biggest problems I see in the world today on a macro level. You have capitalists like us going up against the academics. And they're influencing our kids today. And that's the problem. So it's really a big problem. So that's why I wrote this book here. It's a very simple book, but it's big because this book here, 50 pages, spawned this book here. So if I could read you a quote, this is from Nikita Khrushchev, 1959. He says, your children's children will live under communism. This is the premier of the Soviet Union. Your children's children will live under communism. Your Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright, but we will keep feeding you small doses of socialism. Australia is as socialist as it comes. And it's getting worse because I love your country, but I see what's happening. I'm going, oh my God. We'll feed you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and find out you already have communism. So that was Khrushchev in 1959. That's exactly what this book was saying in 1848. And it says, we will not have to fight you. We will so weaken your economy. This is in 1959. We'll so weaken your economy, and this is Khrushchev, until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands. We're on the brink of that. Greg.
Mm,
The economy is on the brink of economic collapse because we have socialists teaching our kids.
mm,
That's
mm,
what this book's about.
mm,
I'm not saying they're bad people, don't get me wrong. That's like saying, well, you're a Muslim, you're a Mormon, you're a Buddhist, you're a Hindu.
mm,
But economics is an economic religion.
mm,
Fascists are an economic religion. And we
mm.
don't teach that in school.
No, and I know that you've mentioned in all your books that you've said that we really need to start teaching at home and not leave it up to the education department because it's failed the Western world. Did you want to share more about that?
We get screwed with education from Marxists. There's this woke, America's all this woke stuff, and they're changing history. America is now a racist country. America is no more racist than Australia is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're not racist. You guys are not racist. You're some of the most tolerant people I know today.
Yes.
But what we're teaching our kids is America is systemically racist. And they're changing history. It's criminal what the academic elite, like my poor dad, the PhDs, what they're teaching our kids today is treason. It's going on in Macquarie, your schools and all this. I know it. That's why your whole government will lock you down during COVID.
And it's so true. I know in the schools, there's nothing taught about money. There's nothing taught about people skills. And these two areas make up 90% of our life.
Yeah.
And we don't.
And that's why I wrote this book. That's why I love Aussie. We got to fight back with financial education, which is not taught in schools. So that was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's my cash flow board game.
Yeah.
If we teach kids to be capitalists, they have a chance. But as you know, Marxists, socialists, fascists, they hate capitalists because they're poor people. They're all like my poor dad, PhDs with no money. They're teaching our kids.
Look, you mentioned in the book that nothing to gain by writing this book, but perhaps everything to lose. What do you mean when you talk about that?
Well, today, I've been censored so many times. The First Amendment in America, freedom of speech. We're being censored. The doctors in America came out and spoke against COVID when it first came out. They got fired. I have doctors who are terrified of saying anything because they get fired. And so that's fascism. How dare they cut our freedom of speech? And you guys don't have guns, because of the Huddle Street massacre years ago.
Yes.
But in America, they're trying to take away our Second Amendment. Crime is increasing here, because they won't arrest people because what they're saying, if we arrest people, that's racist. Now, the problem is most of the people robbing people are African Americans. Well, I should tell you something. Do you know what I mean? They're poor people. They're not bad people. They're just poor. They're desperate. Homelessness in America is rampant right now, because they're bringing in drugs like fentanyl. Biden opens our border, the southern border, Mexico. Fentanyl pouring into our country, which causes homelessness because they get addicted or die. But that's what Biden's doing. Then Biden cut off our XL pipeline, from Canada to America. The price of oil went through the roof. Guess what? I'm an oil guy. My school I went to, not only did I study this book here, but I studied oil at the academy. And the moment Biden cut off the Keystone XL pipeline, the price of oil went from $30 a barrel US to $130. Now, I got richer. I made so much money. But it screwed the middle class because they're pumping gas in their SUV that's leased. And they want to hook up the price of oil is going up. Well, Biden cut the pipeline off, you idiots. And now he's in Saudi Arabia begging them to open the oil spigots. And Saudi Arabia, when Afghanistan fell, when Biden cut America off of Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia switched sides. Saudi Arabia on that day joined Russia. And so this guy Biden is the biggest criminal I've ever seen. I'm not Republican or Democrat. Trump is my friend. Written 2 books with the guy. But this guy Biden is a hardcore communist. And his sidekick, Kamala Harris, the first Black woman in public office, I mean, she's got the vocabulary of 50 words. We all know how she got to the top, the old-fashioned way.
Oh, I'm not touching that one, Robert.
I won't say it, but we all know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
But America is gone. We're so corrupt right now. The FBI, they won't investigate Biden or his son Hunter. There's something really wrong. And what this book here predicted, it said that communism would come in 2 stages. 1930, the first stage took place. That's when the Berlin from Germany sent teachers to Columbia University in 1930. And when I was at school in New York, Columbia was having riots. The students were rioting because that's what they teach kids to do. And then the next thing came in 2020 when President Trump, who's a friend of mine, lost the election due to a rigged election. And as Stalin said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes. In Arizona, where I live, they don't know how many votes were counted. They still don't know. All of this was predicted in this book in 1848. And that's why I wrote Capitalist Manifesto. And all of it was the warnings we've had over all these years. But the trouble is our school teachers are communists, most of them. They're not bad people. They're like my poor dad. They don't know anything about money.
I see through the book, Robert, you blend so much about your military background and what you learned and what it taught you and the powerful stories that helped shape your life as the champion you are and you continue to be. Because I know, you're at the very young age of somewhere in your 70s and you're still doing more media work. You're doing more interviews, more podcasts, more print media than ever, which is wonderful. I think it's fantastic. But you bring your whole military. Why do you bring your military background so much into the fabric of that book?
Well, you see this here. 2 tours in Vietnam, went down 3 times. And I realized I was killing the wrong people. Because let me tell you one example, I'd watched, this is in this 1972, probably more than before many of your viewers were born. I'm watching the evening news with this guy, Walter Cronkite.
Famous.
He's describing these battles we're fighting in. And I'm going, I was in that battle. That did not happen. It was already fake news back then. And they show Americans killing kids and all this stuff, which did happen. But the communists are also sending kids against us. I almost had to shoot a little boy one day because he was trying to kill me. But the news doesn't report that. So it's all fake news. Walter Cronkite, that's the evening news. I'm screaming. I'm out in Vietnam. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. So the news is steering people towards communism. That's what's frightening to me. And as again, it was Stalin, I think, who said, we must control the media. It's all in this book here. It's all been predicted. Let me give you one more thing, because Aussie is you guys are so taxed to death. And this is what Marx said. It says, a heavy and progressive income tax is necessary for the proper development of communism. And that's what's happening. Your country, my country. Biden just appointed 87,000 new internal revenue agents. Why? To go after the middle class. 87,000. And they're allowed to carry these now. That's how bad it is, fascism. Just look at the news. 87,000 new internal revenue tax agents in America from Biden. He opens the frickin' border up and fentanyl pours across the border. The fentanyl comes from China. And they nailed Trump, my friend. Do you know what I mean? That's why I wrote this book. That's why I wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That's how my cash flow board game, because we fight back with financial education. We need to fight back as capitalists, because as long as they tax the crap out of us, we can't fight back. We're poor. Inflation's killing us.
Yeah, we had to me, a very sad moment in the news this week. And this is from my point of view, is because I saw during COVID, all my friends that own restaurants and cafes, and during COVID, they had to shut them down. They literally didn't make any money. It killed them. Businesses went out of business. And then in this week's paper, the tax department's beating its chest saying, oh, we dragged all this money out of people that we felt were, rorting the system, and cafe owners and people at this area that are keeping the country going. And they're proud. They're proud. The tax department, front page of the newspaper, we ripped 50 or 60 million dollars out of these poor cafe owners. And I thought, this is killing me. They're feeling proud about it. I felt sad, and I felt.
Oh, it breaks my.
It breaks my heart.
Breaks my heart. I've had so many friends lose their business. Aussie is the great coffee bar. In Sydney, I always go to Bar Kalutsi. I love that place. I love you. I love your long blacks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Americans' coffee is like iced tea or something. You know what I mean? When I was in Aussie, I got used to the long black. And that's how much I love your country. I'm not bullshitting you. You know what I mean? I'm just saying this is what I know.
Yes, I had a speaker, Willie Jolly, and he said, "What are you drinking?" I said, "I have a flat white." He goes, "What's a flat white?" And I thought, doesn't the whole world know? Tell me that great story that you talk about when you were learning about gold, and you thought you'd pick up a bit of gold cheap while you're overseas during your military days, and the lady with the red teeth. I think it's a very good story.
Yeah. Well, the story goes in 1972, I arrived in Vietnam, and Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. That was the end of capitalism. That day, capitalism died, because the dollar was the reserve currency of the world. And America promised that the dollar would be backed by gold. So in 1971, August 15th, 1971, Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. That meant they could print as much money as they wanted. Inflation took off, all this stuff took off. It made it harder for the average worker, because they had to work harder and longer and pay more taxes. Because what happened prior to that, 1971 happened, but the Federal Reserve Bank was created in 1913. You know what else was created in 1913? Tax Department.
Oh.
That's like I say, when Prime Minister Truss of England kissed the Queen as she died, I said, it must be a sign from God or something. I'm only being an asshole, you know what I mean? But I'm going, I trust God. I said, what is God telling us here? But they started printing money, and money became debt. So America today is the biggest debtor nation in the world. And the same thing happened in London this last week. They tried to raise interest rates, collapsed it. They can't pay the debt.
No.
So America has to keep printing, or something's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. But the world is in serious trouble because of the US. Japan's in more serious trouble because their Japanese are savers. They're not like Chinese,
No.
They don't know business.
And now the story about this lady with the red teeth. Come on, give it to us.
Anyway, I was flying behind enemy lines in Vietnam because I wanted to find out what gold was. And the NVA, North Vietnamese Army, had overrun the gold mine. So Marines aren't the brightest. Of all the armed services, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines were the stupidest. So my co-pilot, I said, well, let's go look for some gold. So there's only one problem. It's in North Vietnamese hands right now. I said, no problem. We'll just go. And so we go behind enemy lines. We walk up to her, the little Vietnamese woman's desk, and she's selling gold. And she's got red teeth because the Vietnamese eat betel nuts.
Yeah.
And I sat in there, and gold had gone from 35 US to 50. So this is 72. And so I tried to negotiate her down from 50 to 40. And she looks at me and goes, spot. I go, what? The guy got a spot on my shirt. I said, spot. I said, spot. I go, what does that mean? And she was saying to me, gold is the same price all over the world. That's the spot.
I think she was saying you were full of BS, maybe, Robert.
Yes. Why should I negotiate with you, you stupid son of a bitch?
She said I'm sorry, she's obviously probably an uneducated person, but she was giving you an education. She's giving you an education
that day. You know?
That's why I like that story, because, sometimes we all can be ignorant.
But she taught me a lot. So that's why I'm a gold and silver bug, because gold and silver are international money. I can carry gold to Russia, China, Hong Kong. In fact, I had to sail from Perth to Hong Kong. I was on a carrier. We came into Perth during Vietnam. I had to sail from Perth to Hong Kong to buy my first ounce of gold. I paid $50 for it. And today gold's about 1,700 US.
Yeah.
But as the Aussie goes down in foreign exchange against the dollar, gold gets more valuable in Aussie, right? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because the US still controls the reserve currency of the world. So America is ripping off a lot of people in more ways than one. And that's Biden and this guy Powell and what's her treasurer's name? Most ugly woman in the world. Anyway, they're really horrible people.
Now, Robert, we know that you're terrific friends with Donald Trump, and you've written books with him. Donald, he's been a great entertainer for the world and a great entertainer here in Australia. We tune in and love to watch whatever he's going to say next. It's just phenomenal, because he's. I like Donald. Sometimes I don't like Donald because I don't know what he's going to do or say next. But you know what? I do like the fact that he's strong, and that's that part I like a lot. But tell me, do you think he'll run again? Can he run again? I mean, what's his journey now?
I hope he runs again, and I would vote for him. At the same time, if he runs again, America is so divided right now. It would be disastrous. You know what I mean? The most vehement people who are on Trump's side, all the Trumpy people, they all believe the election was stolen. That's why they're so fanatical. Again, you read the Communist Manifesto. As Stalin said, it's not who votes that counts, it's who counts the votes. In Arizona, where I live, was one of the most corrupt states in America. They stacked those ballot boxes with garbage. Nobody said anything. And the worst thing about it is, like, the FBI is now in collusion. They don't go after Hillary, and they don't go after Biden. And that's why Hunter Biden's computer, they never found, they lost it. It's so corrupt now, Greg. That's what's sad. I love America. I fought for America. A lot of friends didn't come back in Vietnam. Saddest days of my life is standing in my carrier, and my wingman doesn't come back. They die. They don't come back. We can't find them. It's the saddest thing. And I come back in 72, 73, and I get spit on by the hippies, the Woodstock generation. I get spit on, hit with eggs and all this stuff. America changed big time during that Vietnam War. But that was exactly when the dollar was taken off the gold standard. So it's all coincidental. I don't know.
Look, I can feel your pain. My father fought in the Second World War, shoulder to shoulder with the Americans for 4 years. And I saw after the war how his passion stayed all of his life as an Anzac. He died at 94. And for him to put his medals on and to march on Anzac Day was just burnt into his soul.
Yeah.
It literally, every day he never forgot. And there's a bridge called the Anzac Bridge, which you drive over into the city, and there's a soldier there. And my father takes his hat off and puts it to his heart.
Yeah.
As we drove past on the Anzac Bridge.
Yeah. I mean, I was in Vietnam, and the Aussies came to help us fight.
Mm.
And they used to laugh at the Americans and said, because Americans don't fight. Americans are not jungle fighters. Americans clear the jungle, then fight. Aussies are jungle fighters.
Well, maybe
that's why I still wear this. Those are my wings. Yeah.
Maybe so, but of course, Australia and America, it's in our culture that you're our friend. And even though we have a go at each other and we have a bit of a chuckle at each other, and we're pretty big at taking the the piss out of people, but we know and we love America and what you've done for our country. As far as I'm concerned, I want America to be standing beside us forever, for my children, for my children's children. And I know that as each president comes in, they never forget what took place during the previous Second World War, and then the Vietnam War, and now, which is absolutely.
And the Vietnam War. I mean, because I used to, when the Aussie soldiers went by, people respected them.
Mm.
They were tough. They also respected the South Koreans fighters. They were tough fighters, Americans were pussies compared to
them. Look, I want to say this, Robert, our time is coming to a close, but do you have some special advice for everybody out there today going forward economically? In other words, if you wanted to give them some little pearl, I know you've got many pearls of wisdom, but if you're going to give some little pearls of wisdom to people today, because this has been a nice chat with you. It's almost like a nice, comfortable chat where people can see who you really are. And I can see everybody out there was saying that you're a nice guy, Robert, and that's really good. I like to see, because I see sometimes in your interviews you're a little bit in the struggle and whatever, because you're a professional. But I like this side of Robert Kiyosaki.
Well, let's go back to that Vietnamese woman in 1972.
Yes,
when I tried to buy gold at a discount, and she went spot. Well, today, because the U.S., what happened to the English pound is going to happen to the Aussie, is going to happen to the yen, the peso, the real, and the dollar. So the best investment today, this is October 2022, is silver. And the reason silver is the best investment is still about 20 in US dollars, about $20 an ounce. So today I bought another 1,000 ounces. I own silver mines also and gold mines, but I still bought another 1,000 ounces of silver because it's the big. I can't resist a bargain. Because when silver goes up, because it's used in the Green New Deal, solar panels, and all that stuff, and silver is consumed, gold isn't. So silver today, October 2022, the biggest bargain you ever see. I predict that by 2025, it's 100 US to 500 US. So today in the US, I can pick it up for $20. It's the biggest bargain I've seen in time. The trouble is, Greg, you can't get any. The panic is on right now. I call my gold dealers, so we can't get any. There's so much corruption in the U.S. system that people are, and as a stock market in America drops, they're buying silver and gold. So my saying, I invest in gold, silver, oil, and cattle. I invest in everything the Federal Reserve cannot print. I don't trust anything they can print. I have no stocks, bonds, ETFs. I don't have a superannuation. I don't have any of that stuff. I don't trust my government. But I do trust gold, silver, oil, and cattle. And that's what I invest in. I only invest in things they cannot print. Right?
Well, as we see,
silver is the best bargain today. Gold may be coming, but silver today, buy it if you can get it.
That's great advice. And here we are in a time when if I was the doctoral shrink for the Dow Jones, I would say it's in the last 3 months, it's got issues, needs a lot of medication. It's got personal problems because that share market has some issues. There's an underbelly of challenge going on with the share market. You know that, and I know that, and we just don't know what tomorrow holds.
Well, that's why, Greg, I spoke out against the superannuation. When it first came in, I was in Aussie. And I said, you know what you're talking about. So you guys don't know what you're talking about. I'm not against superannuations. I'm against stupidity. So what's happening in America, America has a 401k. Japan has a 401k because they copy everything. And the stock market crashing, real estate prices crashing, pensions are going bust. My generation, the boomer generation, toast.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Robert, it's been wonderful chatting to you. You're an absolute global treasure. I think your best is still to come. And I want to thank you for making time to be with us. We have a wonderful big crowd on today, and also it's on YouTube, so there'll be hundreds and hundreds of thousands will see this interview. Thank you so much. It's good to see the other side of Robert Kiyosaki. It's
good to see you. Say hello to Harry Dent when you see him. He's a good friend of mine. But also, always remember this: Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi.
Good on you. Steve Irwin to replace the Queen on the Aussie dollar.
The crocodile, man. Good on you. See you later, Robert.
Thank you.